Hello everybody, this is my video for the week, and I apologize for the change of setting, but I'm really busy, with Christmas shopping and everything. So busy, in fact, that I'm having to film this video while running errands. You can kind of see I'm in my car right now. Can I get a decent look of, or a not so decent look, I don't know. My general surroundings and my favorite vehicle. This is going to be kind of a long video, though, mainly because I did have an idea for a topic I wanted to talk about this week. I did want to talk about the shows I watched this week in regards to professional wrestling. I cannot speak English. But then I wake up this morning and I saw a TruthSlayer's video, so I thought, okay, his discussion thing, I'll dedicate the second part of this video to that. So, this will be posted as a video response to TruthSlayer based on the discussion he did, and that part of the video will be tacked on at the end. But for right now, I wanted to get into what I wanted to talk about this week, and first of all, I just wanted to go over, the shows I watched, which I watched Monday Night Raw, I watched the Tuesday SmackDown special, and I watched Impact, and to be perfectly honest, I thought Raw was actually better than usual. It was actually enjoyable for the most part. They did some things that were different than usual. Ziggler got a win, and I've been joking for a while. I cannot remember the last time I saw Ziggler win a match on TV, even though he's the U.S. champion. It seems like he loses every week. And I thought the finish to his match with Orton was actually pretty good, so I enjoyed that. The Punk and Del Rio match, it was good. It was a TV main event. It didn't really, build anything or go anywhere, but it was a solid match. No complaints there. Overall, I felt like Raw did some things that I thought were good, and they spent a lot of time hyping up the SmackDown special, which I thought was interesting. And it actually got me interested. It's like, you know what, maybe I will check out the SmackDown special, because, I don't watch SmackDown that much, if ever. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll check this out. See, maybe they'll do something good. It's a live show. It's, it's a big TV special. Maybe they'll do something good with it. Boy, was I wrong. Jesus Christ. That was one of the worst shows I have ever seen. It was so fucking bad. I mean, it was hilarious in a bad way. I guess if you think that's a good thing, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But, you got the the Divas fighting over a mistletoe to fight over who gets to kiss whatever superstar of their choice. Yeah, I don't give a shit. So that match was pointless. You had Mick Foley and Michael Cole and Booker T prancing out there in costumes and talking about God knows what, and that was just not funny, which is disappointing because usually Foley is funny, but this show was not meant to be. And there's so many pointless matches. The Battle Royal was the most pointless thing. First of all, it was hilarious because I sat there and was like, okay, Hornswoggle, Sheamus, and a bunch of guys I didn't even know was still employed with the company. I was like, wow, Tyson Kidd, you still have a job? Whoa! The Usos, who, by the way, in one of the backstage segments, I totally thought they were Crime Time. I was like, whoa, Crime Time's back? Wait, JTG still has a job? There's a lot of that going on throughout the show. SmackDown doesn't exactly have the strongest roster. And then, who the fuck is Johnny Curtis? They were like, Johnny Curtis has been eliminated. I'm like, who the flippity fuck is Johnny Curtis? I've been told he was like an NXT guy or something, or maybe a winner. I don't know. I have no fucking clue who the guy is. Obviously, if I don't watch SmackDown, I sure as hell don't watch NXT. So there's that. And there was another chick that I'd never seen before that looks like the Baroness. I don't know if that's what they're going for. She even has the accent. But it's like, wow, they hired the Baroness apparently. Okay. And then the whole shit with Hornswoggle about magic Christmas hugs, granting him the ability to speak English, which, wow, that's one of the stupidest things they've ever done. And Sheamus is an idiot. I had given them credit for not making Sheamus a puss as a babyface, because they do that to a lot of the babyfaces. They just make them smiling idiots. In this match, I have no intention of rewatching it, but I was sitting there confused, like, did he step over the top rope to set up that spot where Hornswoggle shoved him off the apron to win the Battle Royal? Because if so, then he's, like, the biggest idiotic character around. They're like, wow. So that was terrible. The only good thing about the entire show, really, was the Daniel Bryan-Mark Henry match, and that was, it was an okay match. I knew Daniel Bryan wasn't going to win the title. Again, Daniel Bryan was one of those guys. He had been so insignificant for so long that I was just like, wow, I completely forgot about him. It was like Bret Hart in WCW. It was like, whoa, that guy still has a job? Could have fooled me. You hardly ever feature him. And the promo he had on Raw was great, and I thought it set up the match really well, so I thought, okay, I'll check it out. He's not going to win. I knew that going in, but I thought the match was all right. And nothing really came of it, though. It was not like, again, like the Punk and Del Rio match. It didn't set up anything, big. It was just kind of like, oh, here's a match, and that'll be the end of the show. Which, compared to the other, hour and 45 minutes of shitty SmackDown that we got, I'll let that, I'll take it. But yeah, SmackDown for a live special was one of the worst shows the WWE could have put on. It was just unbelievable. And I would have given it a pass if it actually had fallen on a holiday, which it didn't. Which, by the way, why are you doing a Christmas special in November? I know it's the tail end of November, and I know Thanksgiving had just ended, but I'm like, wow, really, a Christmas special now? I mean, ABC Family, they do their Christmas marathon, like the 25 days of Christmas or whatever. They don't start until December, so I'm just like, who the fuck else is doing Christmas specials now? It was really, really bad, and really just felt out of joint with everything else. But I would have forgiven it if it had actually fallen on a holiday. Or, it had fallen on Christmas, and they were like, you know what, fuck it. Nobody's watching, we're just going to do this show and just be silly. Kind of like what TNA did last week with their Thanksgiving show, which they do a lot with their Thanksgiving shows, because it's like they take the attitude of, look, nobody's watching, let's just be stupid. We won't advance the stories too much, we'll just lay back and do whatever. And, the Thanksgiving, Impact, I'll just, I let that slide. It was a stupid show, but I let it slide because it's like, look, they're not, nobody's watching and it's a holiday, so fuck it, who cares? And had this been the same situation for WWE, I would have given it a pass, but this was a live TV special that they spent a lot of time hyping, on Raw anyway, and they'd set it up the week before on SmackDown, so I was thinking, wow, that was not a big show, that was kind of a turd, so there's that. Yeah, SmackDown was absolutely terrible. If I had to award a worst show of the week, SmackDown all the way. But then I saw Impact, and it was, same flaws and problems that Impact usually has, except Bobby Roode is now officially my favorite main event character in wrestling. I really like what they've done with him as a heel, and they're doing a really good job. I know they had to basically repair the damage from Bound for Glory, but they're doing a really good job of it. I even like the stuff they did with his family, because that's an interesting avenue to take when somebody turns heel. How do their family react? How do their parents react? How does their wife and kids react to the whole thing? And I thought it was interesting. Parts of it were kind of funny, but I thought it was interesting that they went that route. And it adds a sense of realism to Bobby Roode's character, kind of like how when they did it for his run to Bound for Glory, that added a sense of realism to his rise to the top. So I enjoy that. Now I'm really liking what they're doing with Bobby Roode. He's like he's the best part about TNA, no question. And he's probably the thing I'm enjoying the most in professional wrestling right now. Everything else, Hardy's gonna get back into the title picture, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of just like, dude, he's gonna fuck up again. He's Jeff Hardy. I'm sorry. He has a history of fucking up. It's just his thing. He did it in WWE multiple times. He did it in TNA multiple times. He did it in WWE again. He did it in TNA again. He's just gonna fuck up again. And until I have reason to think otherwise, that's what I'm gonna think. And I would be very wary about putting him back in the title picture. And if he beats Roode, that would be, again, TNA making a massive mistake and not capitalizing on the good that they have going. But yeah, there's that. But I did want to talk about, speaking about TNA, I do want to head into something that I thought was a heavy topic of discussion this week regarding how his match with The Miz went on Raw and how he's apparently done with the company, and that's John Morrison. All indications seem to be that he's done with the company. I don't know, maybe he'll pop up on WWE next week again, a la CM Punk, I don't know. Or maybe he'll show up again 2 months down the road like they did with Daniel Bryan last year, which I'm convinced that Daniel Bryan getting fired was, fired. I'm convinced that was a work. Whether they'll tell us that or not, it was just, there was no 90-day compete clause to let him go work indie shows, there was no, I don't know, it just seemed weird. Like, they didn't handle his release like they did everybody else's, especially the fact that they let him out of his no compete clause, 90-day thing or whatever. That just made me think, like, he's probably going to come back soon. Sure enough, he came back at SummerSlam. I'm not convinced that firing was real at all. And if it was real, it was done with the understandings like, look, you're going to be brought back in a month. So, yeah, go hang out, do whatever you want, and then we'll bring you back at SummerSlam. But, whatever. But, yeah, it appears that John Morrison's done with the company. And I'm not surprised. I mean, the dude's been a non-entity for how fucking long? I mean, and he's another one of those guys that they push him and they pull him back. Push him and pull him back. Push him and pull him back. To the point that he just doesn't feel like, I knew a year ago that he wasn't going to make it to the world title picture or realize whatever potential he had. And it's really sad because I'm thinking, WWE, you have this guy who looks like a rock star, has more athletic ability than Shawn Michaels ever had, and that's saying a lot. Like, he's a better athlete than Shawn Michaels. And you don't have, you got nothing to do with this. You just keep pulling the crap that you pull with him. And, some people say, oh, it was the thing at WrestleMania where he mistreated Trish, or it was the thing, it was the fact that Melina was a psycho bitch. And I think, okay, if it was his girlfriend, I think that's stupid. I like, why should his girlfriend reflect on him? Drew McIntyre's going through the same thing right now, and who cares? Like, that doesn't affect the fact that he's, he busts his ass every time he goes out there. He tries to make the most out of whatever he's given. And, when you let him go in the ring, he's one of the best in-ring performers in the company. I remember saying in 2009 that Morrison was having the best matches in the company. I was enjoying his matches more than anybody else's. And, again, that's saying a lot, especially when you consider SmackDown in 2009 and how many good guys they had running the show over there. And the only bad thing I've ever heard anybody say about him were his mic skills. And I did a video about this. I think that Morrison was a victim of both the WWE babyface syndrome, where they take this rock star guy and they make him a smiling doofus. And that doesn't make for a good babyface. I'm sorry. I felt like he needed to be like Shawn Michaels circa 97, make him that sarcastic jackass. And that can work as either a heel or a babyface, depending on where you go. Because, people like smartasses. They like rebels. Punk's a smartass when he's at his best. I love how people say faces wouldn't do that, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, look, Austin was an asshole. Rock was the biggest asshole on the planet when he was the most popular guy in the company. So let's get past that white hat, black hat mentality there, because it's stupid. I do think that character could have really worked with Morrison as a babyface. Just let him be the sarcastic asshole, and I think it would have worked. And it would have fit his look, it would have fit his character, because I think it's sad that you have guys like John Morrison and Kofi Kingston who have completely different looks, but as characters, they're basically the same. Like, I could interchange either of those guys in a storyline, and it would be the exact same story. And that's problematic, and that's something they need to work on. But with Morrison, the obvious talk is that he's going to go to TNA. I don't know what his name's going to be, because obviously he's not going to take the Morrison name with him. But I'll say this, I think he would be a perfect fit for TNA. I know a lot of people are like, oh, there's another WWE wash-up that's going to wind up in TNA, blah, 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 whatever. I think he would be a perfect fit for them if they do it right. Now, my fear is that if TNA picks him up, they bring him in, it's another WWE cast-off, it's a guy that the WWE didn't capitalize on, so they'll think, oh yeah, we're going to make him a superstar, so they'll push him to the world title almost immediately, like they did with Rob Van Dam, like they did with Christian, the like. And Christian, it was warranted to a degree, because he didn't really impede anybody. Like, nobody really got damaged from Christian getting into that spot. Some people will say Monty Brown, and I'm like, look, Monty was ruined 6 months before Christian even got there, so that's not even an issue. They fucked Monty Brown over Royal long before that. But in Morrison's case, I think, because the heavyweight scene is very crowded right now, And I think just pushing another WWE guy straight to the top, especially when they've got Rude and Storm, basically as their top two characters in the company right now. Like, it seems like that's the direction they're going to go in. I think fans would get annoyed with that. The loyal TNA fans, how many of them there are, they'll get irritated with that. So I would think, okay, I think John Morrison would be a perfect fit for the X Division, and let him be there. Let him be like the king of the X Division. I think he would. First of all, he's more X Division than most of the guys they have right now. Like Kid Cash, never liked him. Jesse Sorensen, he's green. I'm sorry, I don't think he's anything that special. Brian Kendrick, never seen what the big deal is with him. He was another one of those internet favorites that I never saw. I mean, he's good, but he's not like I never saw him as anything special. Austin Aries, he's the best of the bunch, and he's another guy that was an internet favorite. And I'm like, he's good. I don't think he's the king of the earth like a lot of people say he is. But their X Division, they really need some fresh faces in there because, you got guys like Kazarian and Alex Shelley and the Zema Ion kid who seem interesting. Well, he does. I know Alex Shelley and Kazarian are good. And they're never on TV, yet it's these same four guys every week. And it's just repetitive and kind of boring. So I think John Morrison would be the spark that the X Division needs. And he could be the guy, because I talked about this, trying to sell a tag team match as a main event, or trying to sell an X Division match as a main event, or, whatever. I think Morrison is the guy that you could, if you wanted to give a long build-up to a world title match and didn't want to do it right away, you could probably sell a big X Division match with him in it, like a big X Division title match or something, or even just like him versus AJ or something, and sell that as a pay-per-view main event, and I don't think anybody would question there not being a world title on the show. Maybe, I don't know. That's just me. I think Morrison could be that guy. You could let him rule that division and let him deliver the goods, because he would be great in the X Division. I think he's a perfect fit, just given his in-ring style alone. And eventually, once he's kind of, made the X Division matter, and once he's kind of done his work in the X Division, he's worked with everybody in there, he'll do what AJ and Joe did, and he'll just move out of that division, and then he can move into the heavyweight ranks. And then he can start the long build-up towards eventually becoming a world heavyweight champion. Because basically, TNA should take John Morrison, and instead of pushing him to the top right away just because he's a WWE guy, they should think, okay, let's take this guy, let's make him our pet project. Let's make him ours. Let's develop this guy until he's our product. Because, for all the talk about, TNA originals need to be on top, blah, 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 and all that stuff, WWE, basically, you look at what they did in the Attitude Era, they basically took a bunch of WCW rejects and took them to the top, and that's how they made their success. Stone Cold Steve Austin came from WCW. Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, came from WCW. And, of course, both of them came from ECW as well. Triple H, I remember seeing him in WCW when he was jobbing to Alex Wright. The Undertaker came from WCW. Anybody remember Mean Mark Calloway? I do. He actually kind of sucked. I remember there was a day when The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, was actually kind of shitty. He was not that good. And they gave him a gimmick that worked, and he grew and developed into their own product. And that's kind of what I mean. They need to, do what the WWE did with all these WCW rejects. And even WCW, they get accused of, they just took the top stars from Vince, like Hogan and Savage, and they just, they just ran them to the top, and that's how they ended up beating Vince for as long as they did. It's like, well, they had Hogan, they had Savage, but they didn't get on top right away. They didn't really reap the benefits of having those guys until they reinvented them and made them their own products. They took Hall and Nash, made them the Outsiders. They took Hogan, got rid of the Hulkamania thing, and made him Hollywood Hogan, and he became like a WCW product. Same thing with Randy Savage. When he joined the NWO, they made these guys WCW products, and they got a lot of success out of them for a couple years. And WWE, they're still riding off the success that they got. Look at the Attitude Era. Who were the top stars? Steve Austin, Mick Foley, Triple H, Undertaker. Big Show, he obviously came from WCW. Chris Jericho, WCW. Kane, I think the only WWE guys, like straight up WWE originals, that were major stars in the Attitude Era, minus the tag teams. I'm not counting the tag teams, but the tag teams were major, big, huge acts during the Attitude Era. My, how times have changed. Yeah, I think the only ones were Kane, The Rock, and Kurt Angle. Those are the only ones that were like straight up WWE originals. And the rest were all WCW and ECW cast-offs that they molded into their own talents, or just, showcased in a better light than those other companies did. And that's what they did, and it worked, and they're still reaping the benefits off of that. That major financial and creative high that they achieved during the Attitude Era. So that's what TNA needs to do whenever they get an ex-WWE guy. They don't just... I felt like they tried to do it with Matt Hardy, except Matt Hardy sucked. They need to start like, okay, how can we sell this guy as our own guy? How can we grow and develop this guy? Let's push him. Let's start him maybe at the bottom and have him work his way up. So that way it's like he kind of integrates himself into the roster rather than just leapfrogging over everybody. Things like that. And I think TNA should do that. I'll tell you one guy that they did kind of make their own for a while, and I thought he was great while he was in TNA. I thought Rhino was really good in TNA for a few years, and I thought they had basically he was still the man beast from ECW and WWE, but they had done things with his personality, and they'd done things with his character, and they pushed him in a way that made him feel like he was a TNA creation in a way. I don't know. I don't have any other way to describe it. They'd actually, I felt like they'd done a good enough job with him to push him as one of their own guys. And of course, in WWE he was practically a non-entity anyway, so it's not like they had much to work with, but or much to play off against. But I felt like Rhino was a guy that they did a good job of making him seem like he was one of their own guys. And that's what they should do with Morrison if they pick him up. I think he could be a great pickup for them that could deliver the goods for a few years for them, because Morrison's a hell of a talent. I think I've seen potential in him for years, and it's sad that the WWE never capitalized on it for whatever reason. I hope he has greater success wherever he goes. Maybe like the window of opportunities closed on him, and he's just one of those guys that's just never gonna make it. Kind of like Chris Harris was. Like, I remember a time when Chris Harris was pretty fucking awesome. Believe it or not, yes, Braden Walker was a main event caliber talent, and then he like lost his passion or something, and he forgot how to use a treadmill. But so maybe Morrison's just one of those guys. Maybe his window of opportunities closed, and that'll be the end for him. I don't know, but if TNA does pick him up, I think that's what they should do with him. I think start him out in the X division, or maybe even, because they had practically no tag teams left after Ink's gone. Jesse Newell's leaving. I think Mexican America's done. The Guns are hurt. Beer Money's gone. Team 3D's gone. So they really have like no tag teams. Maybe I've heard that Joey Mercury's retired, but maybe if they can talk him into a sweet deal, maybe bring Eminem to TNA just to give him something to work with. I don't know, because they really have no tag teams, so that would be a good place to start. Kind of like how for Ring of Honor, even though Ring of Honor's always had great tag teams, at least every time I've watched them. When they brought in the world's greatest tag team, it was like, oh, here's this great tag team act that the WWE never took full advantage of, and now we're going to showcase them with our fantastic talents. And I felt like the world's greatest tag team added a lot to Ring of Honor. So I think Eminem would be like an instant spark to the tag team division. They would have to build a division around them, because it can't just be the one team, but it would be a great place to start. Okay, this is the part of the video that will be a video response to True Slayer and part of his discussion. What do we want in professional wrestling? I'm going to try and keep it short because I am fucking roasting inside of this car, man. It is fucking crazy. I know my air conditioner does not work, before anybody asks. And I shouldn't need air conditioning. It's fucking December, man. On the East Coast. I should be freezing. I'm in shorts right now. But, yeah, to get to this discussion, True Slayer asked us all, what do we want in a wrestling company? And I feel like I've outlined this in all my previous videos, but I'll go ahead and kind of summarize and keep it short here. What I want is logical booking, long build-ups, to make me want to see these fights that they're selling, because that's something that they've done a terrible job of, both companies, WWE and TNA, in the last couple of years. And I want to see that excitement level brought to wrestling again, and that's done through larger-than-life characters. And that's what the Attitude Era had. You had all these larger-than-life characters like Austin, Rock, Kane, Undertaker, Mankind, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, all these guys, and it was believable that they wanted to beat the shit out of each other. It wasn't just the sex, and it wasn't just the violence and the cursing, because they were still doing that stuff into 2008. They were up until they went PG. They were still doing all that stuff, but the show still sucked. So the Attitude Era had a little bit more to it than that. And it had the logical writing for their main event programs anyway. I mean, they had some stupid shit like Mae Young giving birth to a hand, but most of their main event stuff was really well handled. And they had these great larger-than-life characters, and you wanted to see them fight, and that's what the appeal was. And I would love to have that brought back. And that excitement level with the larger-than-life characters brought in with the logical booking to put out all the pieces into place and make it work. And I really, if there's a wrestling company out there that's doing that now and doing it really well, I don't know about it. I mean, Ring of Honor, the booking is very solid. They're never going to do anything too stupid, but it's like they don't really have anybody that's like, that really grabs my attention as being like that larger-than-life character. Nothing against Davey Richards or Eddie Edwards or Roderick Strong or anything like that. It's just, I just don't see those guys being like the type that I would tune in to see every week. They're just really good workers. And in the WWE, their product right now feels very corporate, very safe, very, by the numbers, I think, corporate and safe, I think is the best way to put it. Formulaic is another way. They just do the same old stuff over and over again. When they're not doing the same old stuff, they're just doing really stupid stuff that only appeals to children because, we need to grab the kid money. And it almost feels like bad Disney, like Disney at its worst, when they're just making shit that kids will eat up, rather than putting a lot of time and attention and energy into making something good. Which Disney's certainly capable of, and they do it plenty of times, but when they make shit, it has that same feel to it that the WWE does almost every week, where it's just corporate BS that they sell to kids, basically. And I would love to see that change, and the Punk thing was their out for that. Their Punk thing, I thought, was going to change the entire personality of the company and all the future characters that were going to come in. Punk was just going to radiate off of them and just bring in a whole new personality to the company, and that didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah, that excitement level and that unpredictability with those larger-than-life characters mixed in with some logical booking, I think that's what I would want to see in a wrestling product. Now, I've never been a star rating guy. I think I've made that clear in my videos. Not that I don't appreciate great wrestling. I think wrestling's great. I think it's very important. I like the matches to be very good. I do appreciate athleticism, but it has to have those X factors to it. The feud has to be booked well, and it has to, and it really helps when you have those larger-than-life personalities going at it. I mean, I tuned into Survivor Series. I paid to see Survivor Series just to see The Rock, because Rock's worth the money, I feel like, especially since he's such a rare attraction. But yeah, not that I don't appreciate great matches, but I've never been a star rating guy. I've never measured a show just by how long the matches were or how athletic, all the matches were or whatever. I just kind of based it off, well, did I care? Kind of like that. Kind of like the same thing with any other sport. If, I don't know, like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a good game, it's like, okay, it's a good game, but I'm not going to remember it next week because I don't give a shit about those teams. So, it doesn't have much resonance for me, and they're not even in the same division, so it's not going to have any kind of long-term impact on me, except maybe in the wild card run. A loss to Tampa Bay would mean something to me as a Giants fan. But things like that, and yeah, that's what I want out of wrestling, basically. Logical booking, excitement, unpredictability, larger-than-life characters, and, if you have those, all the pieces are going to fall into place anyway, and you'll have a great show.